Yeah. What's going on, homie?
What up? What up? What up? It's
How you
another
doing?
week. It was December, so it's getting a little crazy. I gotta admit it. It's getting a little crazy.
Hey, baby. It's Christmas time, man.
How about for you, man? How's it been going?
It's going good, man. The wife's out of town for work. So pulling that single dad duty
Hey,
for at least for just she'll be back Wednesday. Wednesday,
right.
like midday. So
Oh, that's not bad.
yeah. She left yesterday. So
Okay.
if y'all see me dip out of here,
It's because
you
the
know why.
kids.
It's
It's
because
because the
the
kids.
little one
Hey,
woke up with the show.
heads up, y'all. This might be a normal episode, or this might be the Parenting Express. Because as you know, when the children call, 911 has to fall. No.
Yeah.
No, we gotta go.
We might say that one more time as once we get into the meat and potatoes of the show. I may drop that one more time to say people don't get why they canceled the show early.
Hey, or you just put it as a banner.
No,
Put it as a banner and just let it scroll. You know what I mean?
Oh, I feel you.
That way people know this is a Parent Express episode. Hey, bruh, how was your weekend?
Yo, you mean come on now? You got the Georgia stuff on, man. Georgia pulled it out once again, number one team in the nation. So on to the playoffs now, SEC champs. So,
Hey.
I thought I was gonna go down and tailgate. Oh, I see you with the glasses. How you just switch it up like that?
Hey man, I gotta see the screen, bro. I'm getting old. I'm definitely getting to that age where it's like, what does that screen say? And someone like, put on your glasses. Boom. The world is clearer now.
Hey man, I need to do the same thing. I can't even lie to you, bro. I need to go ahead and get these glasses.
Hey, get them. I normally don't wear glasses like that, but now that I've been wearing them, I've been like, yeah, I kind of need them now. Stuff look different.
You wondered like, oh, I kind of need them, and then you go, how long have I needed them?
Right. That's been a struggle. You know what I'm saying? So, got to do what you got to do. But
man, I just need to find time to go do all those damn things, man.
Hey, I went and got an eye test, and eye test didn't change. It was like using computers, and they taking all these measurements. I was like, what happened to the joint that you like? You don't do the E's, you don't do the E's no more. And they're like, nah, it's not 1985 anymore. And I was like, oh, no E's? Oh, okay.
Like my wife would say, you paying for insurance you ain't using.
Bruh, I gotta be honest though. Taking an eye test is one of the most stressful things that you can do, right? Because I don't exactly understand what's going on when they're like the line is say FNZ whatever, right? And then they'll be like, is it 1 or 2? 1 or 2? And I'll be like, I don't. What's the difference? It'll be like,
okay, they want you to tell them which one is better.
And 6. 1 or 6, and you'll be like this. 6, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I blinked. Maybe I don't know. Maybe my eyes are dry. I don't. I mean, they look about the same, and sometimes I feel like it's like a trick question, right? Like you didn't really change it, and they'll be like, so it's 9. Be like, whoa, there was 9? When did 9 get in here? And then they'll flip it. They'll be like, now read it. Okay. BG 12. I don't know. Is that blue? I don't know. What does that say? And it'll be like, try 14 or 3.
My dad said that they check the pressure on your eye.
Bruh, that little pop of air that's like that's like little micro assault. That ain't what's up. Man. When they do that little like I'm like, did your machine just spit in my face? And then it's like, oh, your eye pressure's good. How the hell did you measure my eye that quick with that little
disrespect?
It's like it's just like a little microaggression. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we didn't get it this time. It's like, What? What just happened?
The last time I went to the eye doctor was when Xavier shot me in the eye with a Nerf dart.
You show up, they're like, what brings you in today? My red ass eye.
I can't see. No, like, but so crazy thing is like the doc was like, yo, this happens like so eye doctor man was like, this literally happens once a week. Like there's somebody in here once a week because their kid shot him in the eye with a Nerf dart. So
now tell me, did you have the Christmas story, you'll shoot your eye out, like little meme going off in your head when he shoot you in the eye?
So when he hit me, right? Like you know those moments where you drop your cell phone and stuff falls in slow motion?
Yeah.
I could see the Nerf dart coming at my face.
You
and
can
there's
see
nothing I
this
could do about it. It was just
like, oh no.
And then, caught me right square in the eye, right? Bam. I immediately fell to the floor. Like,
Right.
And then, you know how I do, right? I'm like, all right, it just hurts.
Right.
My vision's blurry. Like when the sun hit it, it was like, bam, pain. So I was walking around wearing sunglasses and I was like, all right, it'll be better tomorrow. I ain't going to even worry about it.
Right.
Tomorrow get here, still ain't better. So finally, like on a Sunday, I'm looking for an eye doctor just to find out what's wrong. This dude had what's the color stuff in your eye?
The retina?
Retina? So he had hit the retina so hard. Hold on. Anyway, hey, carry the show. I'll be right back.
All right. So
guys, real quick, Home Alone with the kid.
Hey,
out of town. Carrie
Jeff will be back.
Put the kid back to sleep. Be right back. Y'all keep going.
Hey, so what we were talking about was this eyeglass stuff, right? So, for y'all that don't know, I had LASIK done like a while ago. I loved LASIK, like legit. I got LASIK done in 2011. Thought it was the best thing that ever happened, right? Woke up the next day, no glasses, straight. Then I started struggling. The struggle happened, and I was like, I got to do some. I got to get glasses, right? So I know Tal asked if I got new glasses. No, these are just the glasses. The glasses at this point. So we rocking with it. We'll see how it turns out, but definitely your boy needed glasses. I didn't know what else to do there. So that's what's going on. So this week for this episode, what we were slated to talk about was all the craziness that happened over this past weekend with college football and Deion Sanders' announcement, right? But before we get into most of that stuff, I think on the theme of football and tracking all this craziness, the Georgia runoff went down or is going down. The actual election is tomorrow, right? So Jeff is now back. I was about to start talking about Walker and the Georgia runoff. Have you seen how vicious these ads have gotten, right?
They're crazy, bro.
Bro, the one where people are sitting down listening to Herschel Walker talk, and they're like, what is he even talking about? It's like some of these ads are vicious. Bro, and I'm like, Raphael, man, why you doing this like this, man? You ain't got to steep down to this dude's level, man.
But I mean, in all fairness, though, man, like the werewolf and vampire joint, like this. Oh no.
The air one is like the what? Wait a minute, what?
No. You did you see it hit Twitter today or yesterday where Herschel was talking about there's a new ad running with them calling me a coon. Well, I'm a country boy, and anybody from the country know raccoons are one of the smartest animals in the world. I was like, this dude is really like.
I mean, Brian Kemp can't say much because as governor, he's supposed to be campaigning for this dude. But the lieutenant governor for Georgia came out and said, this is possibly the worst candidate in GOP history. And I was like, this is telling. This is telling. This
I
is
don't know
this
if
is
it's
hard.
true or not. He said on CNN the other day that he got out of line. He was in line to vote, and he couldn't bring himself to vote for a Democrat. And Herschel was too bad of a candidate, so he got out of line and didn't vote.
Who said that?
Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah, it is insane. But then I think not to go off into a rabbit hole, but your boy Trump coming back into the picture. Did you hear his statement about the Constitution?
Jesus Christ.
Where he said, I mean, being as though the 2020 election was invalid, then that gives us the room to recall back all policies, including the Constitution. I mean, we just need to go on and reject that. And it's like the fabric of our society.
It's amazing to
American
watch.
society, the Constitution,
bro. It's amazing to watch the mental gymnastics that people
got to go through. Yeah. Like, how do you justify that? As patriotic, this guy said, make America great again. And at the same time, strip America out of the statement. Yeah. And it's like, then it's not America anymore, right?
It's amazing, right? Regardless of where you sit, right? I think you and I do a really good job of saying, no matter where you sit on the spectrum, right? Democrat, Republican, Independent, left, right, center, doesn't matter. I think we can take a second and agree, no matter where you are in the spectrum, this dude is an embarrassment to.
He's an embarrassment in every category. It counts
to everything, right? And this is Trump. This for me, this goes for Trump and Herschel, right?
He makes Texas look bad.
Yeah,
Texas is probably out here like, this was the best that we had.
It's embarrassing. It is literally like that. The American political discourse today, that these two people are running for office and have a legit shot to win their respective offices.
It's insane. Like, and even I was looking at the early vote tallies, and they were saying a lot of the polls have it like 51-49 with a 3.6% space on there for like being wrong, right? And I was like, okay, but the fact that he's still pulling 49%, and this is like, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. And this is from the early vote.
Yeah,
like he pulling 49% of the early vote. Like,
I mean, that's the system in Georgia, though, right? Like the system in Georgia is set up so that, boom, nobody got 50%, so let's do the runoff. And where Republicans have traditionally done better than Democrats in this style of election, because it's so hard. It's been in history, historically across Georgia, it's been harder for Democrats to win off-year elections and turnout elections where you need to drive turnout or low turnout elections traditionally, favor Republicans. So that's why the Georgia system is set up this way, because in most cases Republicans will do better in low turnout elections. But like the candidates are so trash, and I think because of the hard work of Stacey Abrams, Democrats just have a really good turnout machine these days. So we'll see how that works out tomorrow.
Well, I mean, in that same vein, and let me correct myself, it's not saying that he's pulling 49% of the early vote. He's polling at 49%, and the early vote is happening. Two independent things. But the bigger shakeup for people that watched this was Biden's announcement the other day that they're changing the primary state.
Super dope.
And finally letting go of Iowa as the leadoff and switching that to South Carolina even Georgia is now on February 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at for the primary stuff, this is pretty major because it says the more diverse Southern voices will have earlier voices in that conversation of who elects who makes it through the Democratic primary.
So to me, I appreciate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand the game, right? The
Right.
Democrats picked South Carolina on purpose because their demographics are traditionally conservative Democrat. So a person
Right.
like Joe Biden will always win, and a person like anything left of Joe Biden will never win in a state like South Carolina.
Right.
I think I would have loved to have seen. Give me a couple of states, right? So give me South Cac, give me Virginia, Pennsylvania, like that area. Like to me, this way you get a battleground like Pennsylvania / Virginia, and you get a conservative Democratic kind of population.
But I mean, it also hits at this idea that I know for y'all that aren't in Georgia, you're not going through what we in Georgia are going through. If you're voting in Georgia, I promise you, you're getting like 30 calls a day from people trying to get you to go vote. Mm-hmm. 30 calls, text messages, the numbers be wrong, the names be wrong, the parties be wrong, and it's just too much. And what I will take them to fault with is when it's not an election going on, ain't nobody care about you.
Exactly.
They ain't around here gathering people's insights. Mm-hmm. They ain't trying to ask you for nothing. But yet again, they are hoping, wishing, praying that Georgia saves the Democratic Party again. Because if Raphael Warnock gets in, then they don't have to do the power sharing agreement.
Exactly.
And then Joe Manchin loses a lot of steam very quickly in his stuff. So I mean,
Christian cinema.
It's on us again, and It's like this is. I mean, we're gonna put in our work to try and make this happen, but also, if you truly care about Georgia being Democrat and you want Stacey Abrams to be a part of this process, whatever capacity, then y'all need to start showing up as the Democratic National Party and hearing people's voices in Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right when we talk about the National Democratic Party getting more involved and investing more money in not these big races, but in these grassroots kind of races. Keeping Gwinnett County purple or even pushing it blue, pushing Cobb County further blue, right? Like these are those that Augusta to Athens, that corridor of small towns, but that are also really, really diverse towns. So, I mean,
if they, I fully believe, even for the Georgia House, for the Georgia Assembly, right? If there was more talk about public transportation in the counties, more unified talk about social services, school system, stuff like this, and just had a way of people having their voice heard, is one of the biggest threats to Georgia Red all day.
Well, I mean, I think Georgia / Atlanta was voted the most, the least economically mobile region in America.
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me. And they tied it to not simply, but because of the lack of mass transit in the city / state, right? Yeah. Like you can't get, if you live in the city or if you live anywhere around the state, you can't navigate this state without a car. And so that also hinders our ability to recruit major corporations who are looking for that operation. So they end up, if we do recruit them, they end up staying in that I-20 corridor so that they could have easy access to the airport. But
now, see, the other part of this trick, though, The trick, if you want Georgia to stay reliably blue like that and like a wash, like a total turnover, it would be hard because all the infrastructural things that you have to do would stretch longer than one term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's stuff that has to almost be in motion and then move from the grassroots up, right? But that's so hard to do. But I think if public transportation could be scaled fairly quickly, right? And those type of things happen. Those are voices that people need to hear. The problem is that most people, I think, in Georgia feel like their voice is never heard.
Yeah.
So they just work on the fringes there,
To get something like mass transit done, I think you'd need the perfect storm for Georgia. I think you'd need a Democrat as a president, because in order to get transit done on that scale, you're going to need federal government dollars and federal government investment. And then I do think you're right. You're going to have to play the long. I mean, Michigan just did.
This is what you got to do. This is in Georgia. This is my thinking for Georgia. And you let me know, because you're better at this than I am. You're way better at this stuff than I am. So if you want Georgia to get mass transit, this is what I think you got to do. You got to say, and we're going to get to this in a second, the national championship for football, for college football, or at least 2 playoff games and Mad Bowl games are played in Georgia, right in the greater Atlanta area, right? Mm-hmm. And we got a World Cup coming and the Olympics and like within the span of 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, right? We got major sports events coming with a Super Bowl on the back end of that, right? And because of that, the Democratic president in office has an infrastructure bill that's got hella jobs coming, right? And we just got to get moving with stuff. That essentially would get people to be like, yeah, I feel like that would be enough to get the ball rolling.
I don't think it does, because we have the Olympics, right? Like I think.
But look what the Olympics did, though. The Olympics did move Atlanta.
It progressed Atlanta forward rapidly. But right. I think the struggle with Georgia is because so much of the power base of this state lives outside of the city of, like, it's Atlanta and then everywhere else. Yeah. And nobody has done a good enough job articulating what does it really mean to connect Atlanta to Savannah, Augusta, Columbus, Macon, driving that thing all, like, what does it really mean from an economic standpoint for us to invest billions of dollars in connecting rural Georgia, so South Georgia, to North Georgia, and connecting North Georgia in the mountains to Tennessee. Like, nobody has done a good enough job. And I'm pretty sure the stuff is out there, but from a messaging standpoint, that's what the Republican Party has done so well, is they coin phrases like MARTA is moving Africans through Atlanta rapidly, or something like that's when MARTA was founded. That's what they coined MARTA as, moving Africans rapidly through Atlanta. That's what MARTA was called. And so the Democrats do a horrible job of messaging the benefit. Like, it's everything is framed as Atlanta, but it's not Atlanta. Like, could you imagine the economic impact from a tourism standpoint, or even a goods and services standpoint, if you connected Savannah to Atlanta?
Yeah. I mean, legit.
You could get there and not have to drive a car, right? Like, fam, we there, right? Couples trip to Savannah. Let's catch the train and let's go.
Right.
But like my grandmother, crazy thing, and then we can move off this. My grandmother has lived in New Jersey for as long as I can remember. Never learned how to drive.
Yeah.
My grandfather would drop her off in the morning at the train station, and then she'd take a train from Roselle, New Jersey to Manhattan every day to go work at Lord & Taylor in their corporate office. And then at night, catch a train back, and he would meet her at the train station every day.
Yeah.
So to this day, this woman is in her 80s, does not know how to drive. And but led a productive career and never
Right.
and they did well, right? Like, but she never learned how to drive.
And that's where it's like there's just so many opportunities for, I mean, from a higher ed standpoint, connecting
Mhm.
the universities of Georgia, from a tourism standpoint, connecting the major cities or the floundering uh cities like Macon, right?
Right.
Do you know how supportive Macon would be? How supported Macon would be if you connected Macon, if you even had a train that said you could go from Athens, Atlanta, Macon, Savannah, right? Or out to Columbus or something, right? Some trajectory of that, right? Yeah, that you would be good. You'd be like, yo, I'm gonna go down to Macon real quick for a concert, right? And then we go
Yo,
get
but
back.
think about Georgia and all of these little towns that have declining populations
Yeah, you
because
need them.
these little towns were built around the railroad.
Right.
And when we moved away from railroads and we started building the highway system, these highways took people away from driving through these small towns. And what that did was it killed the small
I mean,
town.
literally to for some people to affordably work in Atlanta where the economic value resides, right? You may have to start thinking about, well, could you get a fast rapid transit train from Macon to Atlanta to bring you in, or Macon a Cobb or something like that, right?
Mhm.
You think about those dynamics now, right? Like if you can't afford to live in Cobb, Alpharetta, some of these well neighborhoods, right? But you could live out in Macon and commute every day, but not have to get on the highway for 2 hours. What would life look like? And I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Mhm. Because then you think about like what you're describing now is I'm able to now make Atlanta based salary, but
Right.
then spend my money
And
in
bring
Macon.
that money to other areas that
Yep.
would that could need it. And if you thought about that, it's like, why is that so offensive? But maybe there's other things at play there.
I think it's power, right? I mean, I
Of
think
course,
it's
as
it's
most
it's
things kind of
it's
come down
all
to
yeah, it's all driven by power. And if I can keep people isolated, then I can
yeah,
also maintain power, right? And
right.
so it's
That's the
easier.
sucky thing about it, man, because it hurts your state. It really
Yeah.
does hurt Georgia. If you are, and that's the part that's like weird about that, right? For some of the, and not all, but for some of the state-sided Republicans that are like, look, I'm all about Georgia independence. I believe that Georgia should be independent, or at least independent in their politics, right? We shouldn't be impacted by the national level of things and what's going on there. But you're kind of beholden to the national narrative by the Republican Party sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And if it's like, if you're actually looking for what supports Georgia the best, then you really need to start thinking dynamically about what the greater Atlanta area is
Mhm.
and redefine what that is. I saw there's a neighborhood out in maybe that's Henry County, where there's like a movie studio and then there's like a creator neighborhood all around there. And it's like it looks amazing, right? But them people are trying to stay within that area and then spend all their tourism dollars
Yep.
at the malls in Atlanta or somewhere else. If you could bring that money out, that could be a game changer. But
And I
you
think,
know,
we probably need to have Justin on to talk about this again. He and I were talking a couple weeks ago around Microsoft moving one of their headquarters. Well, one of their headquarters is here in Atlanta. Well, Microsoft ain't employing the people of Atlanta
right,
to work. They literally bought a huge ass plot of land and they're building houses on that plot around the headquarters,
right, right,
and then they're bringing people in to live and work.
right.
And I'm like, so yes, we're courting these
Major
major
companies, but
businesses
these
to come and work or
right,
come and move headquarters here, but
legit.
then they're not adding any economic value to the community because they're not employing people from the community. They're giving high paying jobs to people that are already working in the system, and they're just moving them to Atlanta.
Right.
It's a crazy system, bro.
It is crazy, but let's get into this mayhem that happened over the weekend, right?
You talking about Deion?
No, man, we got to talk about college football in general, right? So what went down was straight up end game level Marvel movie. It was crazy. This weekend, starting off on Friday, when USC fell to Utah, and I was like, yo, Utah came out swinging. That kind of set the tone. And then my guys, TCU, they're my guys this year. I'm not a TCU fan, but week 3 of watching TCU, I was like, yo, this team is a problem, right? They got into it with Kansas State, which was a rematch. In that game, your boy, the quarterback for TCU, had about 30 cuts all over him, drenched in blood. He was going through it trying to win that game. And they eventually lost by inches, right? By inches. That was crazy. And then the Georgia game, I'm just gonna stop right there because you, as the Georgia diehard, I was surprised I didn't look on the sideline. I did not see Jeff on the sideline.
I'm typically not at away games. If you look on the sideline during home games,
that's not a away game for you anymore.
So all right. So for those who don't know, for a long time when I was in school, I worked for the recruiting department at Georgia, and so I used to go to all the games for free. So I still maintain that working relationship, never burn a bridge. So during traditional home games, you can find me on the sideline or in the recruit box for Georgia. But yeah, so Georgia did what Georgia has done for the past 2 years, right? They dominated an opponent. This year has been different because they've dominated the teams that they're supposed to dominate. Like last year's team was full of seniors, great leadership. This year's team, younger players. So many people got drafted on that last team. So Georgia has been up and down all year. And when it's time to show up and play, when they played Oregon, when they played Tennessee, when they played Florida, it was like, boom, lights out, perfect football, mistake-free, embarrass the other team. When we played Kent State or Vanderbilt or Kentucky or all these other lesser teams, it's like, we'll beat them if we show up.
Yeah.
And we look like it and barely beat teams. So here we are, LSU. Georgia came in. They decided we're the better team, and they proved it on the field. So now we are, again, the number 1 team in the country and got one hell of a game to get to the national championship. We got to play Ohio State December 31st in Atlanta. That shit is going to be hard.
I thought that was amazing. Like I thought Georgia's handling of LSU was complete dominance, right? I thought there were some silly mistakes, yes, but overall, I thought it was just insane. It was insanity to me. Georgia, from that block field goal, where everybody just looked. I just love your boy. They got your boy on camera that's like, hold. All right, let's go. Like, and then running it back for a touchdown is insanity.
So if you listen, so they actually asked, so the player that did that, his name is Chris Smith. And safety for Georgia, they asked him about that play, and he said, yo, we practiced that like 4 weeks ago. He's like, if you ever get a block punt, or block field goal, you wait to see what the other team does, and it's a live ball. So if the other team makes a mistake and starts walking off the field, he said, if you can get it and go. But they said, if you can't score, leave it alone. And so that's why you saw him go over to the ball, and he looked at the LSU sideline and then looked at the ref and then looked back at his sideline and like, I'm gone.
And they straight up pulled the flying V from Mighty Ducks. I ain't never seen nothing like that, right?
I see this every week, man. For some reason, it just feels like, and this doesn't mean they can't lose, right? I don't want anybody. I love my team.
It's
but
dangerous territory for them. Yeah.
Georgia is and continues to be one of the best prepared football teams that
Yeah.
I've seen. Like it just seems like when big moments happen or their players are traditionally just in the best spot to make a play. Whenever a play needs to be made, it's like, oh, I know what play is coming from the opposing team. Boom.
Hey,
it's
and
amazing.
even with your boy that picked up the quarterback with the one arm.
That's so embarrassing.
He picked him up, but I think it was more for him. It was more for the quarterback than anybody because he was like, yo, you out here looking a little hobbled, bro. I could take you out fairly easy, but let me lay you down.
But see, bro, you can't do that to another grown man.
Why can't you?
Like so the funny thing about the play is the offensive lineman had pushed Jalen Carter, number 88, to the ground.
Yeah.
He still has enough strength to get up with somebody draped on him, pick up the quarterback with one arm, and then hold up a number one.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching this like this dude has a family. Like his mama's in the stands.
Hey, I like I said, I thought it was more for him than it was for anybody.
This image is going to literally live forever. It's going to live forever. Like there's no way like this dude is ever, if he stays in school if he's in school next year, he's going to show up. You remember that time you got picked up?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to let him live it down, definitely. But I just thought it was amazing. It was an amazing weekend of college football. If you follow college football, it was just crazy. It was mayhem. And now we're coming up on it. TCU made it in. That's what I'm happy about. Michigan made it in. Okay. Georgia made it in. Good. Ohio State again. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I'm not an Ohio State fan. I don't get it. But yes, you are right. This image will forever live. You know what I mean? And it's like, put him down, man. And it's like Georgia's number one. That's
exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, that's insanity. And now that we're contemplating the 12-game expansion.
We're not contemplating. It's coming.
I mean, it's happening. It's happening. But to see what this would kind of look like is getting really interesting because it still gives credence to conference champions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You get a first round bye.
You get a first round bye if you're a conference champion. And then what's the seeding? How's the seeding work past that?
Same. I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays 6 or 5 plays 12.
5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 7 versus 10, 8 and 9, right? Yeah. And it's still interesting because I've seen quite a few mock-ups. Here, I got one up real quick that I'm going to share.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see if I can do this right real quick. Let's see. Chrome tab. There we are.
There you go.
So this is what it would look like with this current year's seating.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
I can try. Let's see if I can do this without it looking crazy.
There we go. No, there you go.
Where, right there?
Yeah, I think that works.
All right. So you got Georgia, Michigan, Clemson, Utah, right?
Yep.
Then you got Kansas State out here. Kansas State won their conference, but they're still not high up on the levers. And I think it's because they lost, because they had a loss already. So these guys get a bye. And then you come out to, where's 5? TCU, Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Kansas State, USC, Penn State, and Tulane gets in. So I think in a sense, Tulane getting in is pretty, that's probably one of the upsells of this model
Yeah.
Georgia being in that really doesn't change much. They do their thing. Ohio State not getting a top 4 seeding really does change a lot of things for a lot of people. Utah, I think you can make a case that Utah really gets a shot inside of this dynamic as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my struggle with this is though, is you've essentially with this model handed the SEC specifically, and I'll say this because I'm an SEC guy, you've handed them 3 slots every year from now on, a minimum of 3 slots in this model, right? Alabama's going to make it, Georgia's going to make it every year because essentially, as long as you don't lose more than 2 games, you're good, right? And so I think what I've always loved about college football is that games matter, right? Like the regular season matters.
Yeah,
so like
definitely.
Georgia played Tennessee a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Alabama played, and essentially, boom, Georgia won that game, which essentially meant that they had a clearer path to that number 1 spot. But now it
I mean, I think
cheapens that game to me.
I think it what's unfair here, and you could probably check me on this because you probably know these records better than I do. Alabama lost twice this season.
Yep.
Tennessee lost twice this season.
Mm-hmm.
LSU lost how many times?
3.
3, including Georgia.
Yeah. Oh no, it was 2, and then they lost to Georgia.
Right. 2, and then they lost to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It still feels a little unfair to me for LSU to drop out of the conversation completely, with Alabama and Tennessee avoiding going through the SEC championship, right?
Yep.
Like
or
in the case of TCU
right?
and Kansas State's making it in. You know what I mean?
Yep. But I mean, you think about this. Michigan and Ohio State just played 2 weeks ago.
They did, yeah.
That game now under this model, like that game this year was the highest watched game of the past 3 years, right?
Right.
Across sports, one of the highest watched games across sports, period, in the United States.
Right.
Under this model, that game is now meaningless because both teams make the playoffs regardless.
Right.
And so it's like, I get it, right? Like this was a cash grab by the NCAA because they want the money, right? Because all of these games will be on TV and all of these games will have hella eyeballs. So that means now you have 12 games, or what's that, 6 games that'll all get crazy ad revenue.
Right.
But man, like it just, for me, the traditional, I mean, I'm not even a traditional college football guy. I'm just a guy who likes college football. I just like the fact that as a Georgia fan, I'm on the edge of my seat for most games because one loss makes it harder for you to get in the playoffs. Now I'm looking at it like, well, shit, as long as we don't lose 2 games, we in.
Yeah, I think it gives you some space, but also I do think it was getting a little crazy with seeking perfection for the Power 5, right? Because all the other teams, like, what was it? The year that UCF had like a few years where they were just killing people, and it was like they just couldn't get into the conversation, right? And it's like, this gives them a space now to kind of come in. Or Tulane. I mean, how do you look at Tulane or Utah and say, I mean, it did what it needed to do to a certain extent, right? But to see the same players on there, Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia specifically, it's like, it's the same top dogs.
I will agree. Now, my struggle is going to be, right? So we have 12 teams now. There's going to be a year where you're going to have 4 SEC teams in this, a minimum of 4, right? Like, because if LSU loses 1 less game, right? I think they lost to Texas A&M. They lost to Texas A&M the last game of the season.
Or, I mean, I think the other version of this, Jeff, that you didn't specifically bring up, but is interesting, is take South Carolina out of this conversation. Because if South Carolina doesn't wreak. South Carolina wreaked havoc all over this map for a lot of people, right?
Yep.
South Carolina beat, what was it, Tennessee
and Clemson.
And that's why they got deranked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, man, that loss can happen, and these teams still are making it. But it's also like telling you, if South Carolina's game doesn't happen, right, then I think you definitely are looking at more teams, more of that top tier group working in. North Carolina or Louisville has a stronger year in the ACC, right?
Yep.
I think you're looking at them kind of coming into the fold, right?
And so I think, we talk about the little guy in Tulane, but there's still a strong likelihood that the little guy doesn't get in. Like,
right.
If LSU doesn't lose to the worst team in the conference the week before they play Georgia, then LSU is taking Tulane's spot because now they have 2 losses and not 3.
What? Or what about I don't even remember Penn State. I don't even know who.
Penn State had a good year. They only lost to Michigan and Ohio State.
But again, to your point, right? Yep. They lost to both those teams, and now they essentially have to go through them to get to the championship anyway.
And if I know as a fan that those 2 games don't matter, I care about them, yes, but they mean a little bit less now because I know I can lose one or both of them and still make it to the playoffs. So Penn State's like,
Well, I think lost. I think the teams that really care about this model more so, I can't speak about Michigan. I don't know Michigan well enough to even have that much to say about that, right? But I really think your big 3, even on this map, are Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama. They're like, yeah, as long as I'm in, though, I'm gonna make it to the Final Four. Right?
Yep. I mean, that's the reality. Like Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama are like, I just need to get in.
We kind of do this,
Yep.
And it's like, you can throw in whoever. Y'all think Ohio State is so good and they lose every time. So I don't know who told them that they're gonna be it. But
think about this, right? Like Tulane got a spot this year, or would get a spot in this model. Think about Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets the benefit of the doubt every time. All they have to do is lose 2 games, 1 or 2 games, and they're going to get in, which means Tulane's not getting that 12 spot.
And
I can kick off. Who's that number 10 seed right there?
10 seed is USC.
Gone. If
I mean Alabama versus USC, Alabama's winning.
Well, no, right? I'm just saying if Notre Dame loses 2 games instead of 3, USC's gone. Tulane's gone, right?
Well, I mean, look at it this way. If you look at the bottom of your map, 4, 5, and 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
Utah, TCU, and Tulane, that is your Cinderella wing right? And it's like Utah really wasn't supposed to beat USC. TCU was like, they are the killer this year. They're the under the level killer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they got to go through Tulane and Utah. It would just be a different, because I do feel like Tennessee, a healthy Tennessee, bombs Kansas State out of the water.
Okay.
Right. But with Tennessee being hobbled, I got you. Definitely neither one of those teams are making it past Georgia. You know what I mean?
The crazy thing about this model is a hobbled Tennessee team beats Kansas State. They beat Tulane. They still probably beat TCU. So they probably beat Utah.
I don't know. I think they'll beat Utah, and I think that's the problem with this, right? Is that because you're still giving a lot of credence to conference championships, right? Utah gets the shake over USC, which has held the crown for the Pac for most of the season, right? And it's like, one bad game, man. One bad game threw it off, man. And maybe that's what makes it.
Like Oregon lost to Oregon State They were leading Oregon State 31
and
to
Georgia.
7.
And Georgia.
No, they didn't. They wasn't nowhere close to Georgia.
No, but I'm saying they lost to Georgia.
Oh yeah. No,
yeah.
So traditionally, games at the beginning of a football season don't matter. People, they're like, you were figuring it out. But they lost their last game of the season. They were winning 31 to 7.
See, I think it'd be different. I think the conference championship should still matter. Yes.
Me too.
But for the seeding of this, I think it's got to come down to who's the record holder for your conference, right? Because TCU beat Kansas State. And then it was like, they won the championship, yes, but any regular game like that, I'm sorry, I'm still taking TCU this year, right? TCU is a problem. They are a problem for most people. I think if you look over at the Clemson wing, Clemson beating Ohio State and they beating Penn State since they benched DJ. With benching DJ and that young boy came in, that young boy flying them things, right? They swinging them. Also, I think Alabama looks at Michigan like, oh, we gonna demolish this, right? Right. So with some training time. Saving on a bye, a couple. Oh, we got a little bit of time here because we didn't have to play in the SEC championship. Oh, we gonna air it out. You know what I mean?
will say the thing I do appreciate, and I know we want to get to Deion before we close the show.
Yeah.
The good thing about this model is those first round games, so 7, 10, 6, 11, 8, 9, 5, and 12, all take place on college campuses.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they take place on the higher seeds campus. So, like, to me, that's pretty dope, right? Because you can imagine the atmosphere on those campuses. So,
Oh yeah. That's amazing. I didn't know that part. That's awesome.
Yeah. So from an economic standpoint, right? Like that's major from a school's perspective, because now you get a playoff game on your campus, which they're gonna rake in cash for that.
Right.
So like that's
that's dope. That's dope. But yeah, I think we got to at least close out with the biggest part of what happened this weekend. Your boy Prime was the coach at Jackson State. Was
not no more.
Right. So rumors started swirling that Colorado was about to name Deion Sanders as the head coach. Deion currently coaching Jackson State, HBCU, a point at which a few years ago during the protest for George Floyd, Deion pointed out and said, where most people were talking about supporting HBCUs, I wanted to do something to support HBCUs. So he goes to Jackson. He turns the program around. He brings an epic amount of money for Jackson State, and they go undefeated. I think, or maybe not undefeated underneath. 2 years in a row undefeated. He's got them firing on all cylinders. He's helping with recruiting, again, people, again, resources. And then the rumors start swirling that he's going to Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado of all places. And then it was announced after they won their SWAC championship and beat the brakes off of
they beat the brakes off Southern, right?
Right. They beat the brakes off of Southern. Now, Deion Sanders has officially been named the coach of University of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And an amazing turn of events, he made an announcement to the team and then got on a flight and showed up at the stadium. And that's where I will pause. I want to hear your quick reflection about that.
Y'all know I'm petty, right? So I don't really have a dog in the fight. Some of this feels somewhat performative. Because he's prime time, right?
Right.
And so some of this feels very much nobody was checking for me from a coaching perspective. Like when I was trying to become a coach, nobody was checking for me. And so Jackson State was the first one to give me my opportunity. And then at the first sign that I could bolt to a major Power 5 conference, I left, right? And so some of that does feel very much performative on his part. But then on the other side of the coin, he didn't do anything that most normal people wouldn't do.
Right.
If I had the opportunity to go from what I make now to 300% pay raise, I would take it. Like, this is not a conversation, right? I'm calling my wife, hey, yo, this is what's going on. Boom, we out the door. We on the flight to Colorado too, right?
Right.
So all of these things, I think, for me personally, can exist in the same space, right? He did do a lot of good for Jackson State.
He did awesome
He
stuff.
did, he brought good, positive national attention to historically Black colleges and universities. My hope is that, but I'm not naive enough to believe that it's going to stay, that post Deion, dollars are still flowing towards
Those
HBCUs
right.
and programs like this. But I'm also not naive, and I do realize that now that Deion's gone, all that probably stops. But I can't lie and say that it doesn't feel performative on his part to say, yo, Black college, this, we got to support Black colleges. And then first opportunity I get, I'm shooting the deuces to one of the whitest institutions. Like, there's PWI, predominantly white institution. UGA is one of them, right? I'm a proud graduate of one of them. It seems hella performative to go from an HBCU to the whitest of white colleges that you could go to, right? Like,
well, I mean, wow. I don't have a problem with him going to a PWI, right? Nope. I don't have a problem with it because I think there's diversity that needs to kind of come into Colorado, right? So I will say that. I think the problem that I have with how it all went down with Deion is that for him to say HBCUs, football, HBCU football, all that stuff. And I mean, this has been a seismic shift.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The broadcast level, College Game Day was at Jackson State, yep. Right? Like, these are big economic pulls. I would have been fine if he just left, like any other coach does. Like, I'm just not going to talk about it. And then once we get done with the Celebration Bowl on December 17th, then we can wrap up, right?
Yep.
My problem is that he met with the team, alluded to there being some bigger issues going on at Jackson State, and then hopped on a plane and showed up at Colorado Stadium, got the jersey, did the press conference, met with the players, and then told the students from Jackson State to transfer. Like, he told them to leave with him. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute now. Yeah. What? You telling them to leave HBCU football? Like, why? What happened? What happened? Maybe we won't know. And I'm almost for sure that this isn't his first offer to leave Jackson State. But also, I don't really get it. I just know they had to pay that man a lot of money to get him up at Colorado. That's a crazy deal.
My struggle with this is, and it's no different than other coaches, right? Every coach sells the idea of, help me build this program, help me either keep the program where it is, or like in Kirby Smart's case, when he started at Georgia 7 years ago, help me build this program into what I know it can be. Right. I think for me, it stings a little bit more, if I'm being honest, because his motto and his message to Black players, to our kids,
right,
that were the top of the top, like, hey, I'm going to take you from, he had Travis Hunter from Collins Hill. It was like getting some really, really good players.
Good talent.
The mindset of help me transform HBCU football to compete with that of PWIs.
And I gotta go back. Right. I think it was earlier this year when we called out, what was that? Alabama State, Jackson State, where the dude went and shake Deion's hand.
Yeah, he said he ain't swag.
He ain't swag. He ain't swag. He ain't down. I don't know, man.
He was
It
right.
seems like he was right. It seems like he was calling it,
Yep.
and he called it early and said he's trying to get up out of here. Y'all
Yep.
just don't know yet. But
Yep.
now I ain't shaking his hand because you hear it for you hear it for the show. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean, Deion, I wish him the best, but also I gotta call out this for a second. You're in a bigger market now, and a Pac-12. If you ain't making it into the playoff, into the championships, they gonna carousel you too, just like they do everybody else. You know what I mean?
100%. Do I think in this age of kids being able to transfer wherever they want to, do I think he will find success early? Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Because I think, you can convince players to transfer, via the transfer portal. But what I do think is difficult is if you aren't successful within 2 years,
Yeah.
it's going to start to fall on deaf ears.
Right.
And you can take 3 or 4 great players a year and win at the HBCU level because all HBCUs aren't created equal.
Right.
But you can't take 3 or 4 good
Wow.
players a year and win in Power 5 football. It's just
Not in Colorado.
possible.
Not in Colorado. Like you
So,
need it's some serious motions to turn around that football team. They've had 2 losing seasons.
and
Right.
I mean, I think he'll do fine. I don't wish him not well.
Oh,
Again,
I wish him the best. I don't think this was a good look. I don't think this was a good look. And I don't think it's a good look for his legacy. And he's gonna need next year, if Colorado's not in the conversation for leading off here, then I don't know if this is a good look for Prime long term. You know what I mean?
again, it just goes back to me. I'm with Tal, right? Like,
Yeah.
for me, it shows again. Here's another major coach, or here's another major player, or whatever, leaving an HBCU and going to a PWI. So
Right.
all of the good that you have done as bringing attention to HBCU football, HBCUs as a whole, go out the window when you shut the deuces and leave for a Power 5 PWI at your first shot. Now, again, I'm not saying don't do it ever, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, maybe this year isn't the year, right? Or maybe it's not Colorado, right? Like if he had left
Right.
Jackson State for Auburn, or Jackson State for Florida State, or
Right.
Jackson State for a blue blood program,
Right.
perfect sense, right? Colorado ain't been good since Cordell Stewart was there.
Right.
And so it just feels like you jumped at the first opportunity to get out and didn't, like leave for a
greener
quality,
pastures.
really a high quality national championship caliber program, right?
But
Colorado State ain't gonna never win a national championship.
I'd also say I think I would add this to the conversation. Did he leave Jackson State better than he got to it? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Is it also going to fall apart pretty bad once he leaves? Yes. Right? Did him going to a HBCU start the trend that I think he hoped it would start? No. And that's part of the problem as well. It'd be different. It would be different if if you had like every Hall of Famer or like major football player going back to a HBCU and say, I'm gonna help get this program going with my stardom, right? With my stardom, a good coaching core, we gonna bring money into the HBCUs and recruit. Because honestly, under NIL, it's like it's probably beneficial for the player to figure out the marketing aspect of these things. And Deion brings a lot of this to that, right? But now it's like not many things changed in the HBCU football standpoint, right?
But I think, and this is the thing, and this is why I say I wish he would have stayed a little longer, because I do think had he stayed a little longer, then the changes that he was making have more staying power.
Well, I think I had him at 5 years, right? If he had stayed 5 years, I think, and Jackson State stayed where they were going on their trajectory up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only a matter of time before the perception of Jackson State carried them into the top 25. And then they start creeping up that ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting bigger games, getting more visualizations. Once you get them into a playoff, a 12-player playoff, and they beat at least one team, you're gonna set the gold standard.
I don't even think he had to get into the playoff, to be honest with you. I think had Jackson State played in a bowl game other than the Celebration Bowl, right? Because that's the reality, is the bowl games get to pick who they want to play.
Right.
In most bowl games outside of the big ones are solely built on who can sell tickets, right? It's like, let me create matchups for who can get the best, most eyes on TV and who can sell the most tickets in the stands. Yeah. That's all these other Duke's Mayo Bowl, Meineke Car Care Bowl. That's all those damn things are. So had he built the program right, I'm saying, boom, now he, instead of getting that invitation to the Celebration Bowl, which you're going to get by default because you're one of the top HBCU teams, had you gotten the Meineke Car Care Bowl, right? Where we're talking.
I mean, it could have been Aflac could have done a bowl, and it would have been eventually Alabama and Jackson State. You know what I mean?
Those things are just branding opportunities by these. Right. What they also do, though, is the payout for the players and the school
is major.
Program changing, right?
Yeah.
And so, hold on, let me look it up while we talk.
No, I mean, I can attest for Georgia State. Getting into the Auto Nation Cure Bowl was a payday for the university that mattered for a developing program. Those bowl games matters, right? They matter huge. So to see that kind of happen, and what I just looked this up. I heard that Jackson State has already lost like 75% of their commits for this year.
Yep.
They're all going to follow Deion away from the program.
So get this. So this is old data, right? Because I think the Meineke Car Care Bowl is gone. I just picked a random bowl game out of the air. So this is as of 2010. The payout for the Meineke Car Care Bowl in 2010 was $1 million per team, plus a split of the revenue.
Yeah, I mean, the Cure Bowl that we were in, and the Cure Bowl that we've played in a number of years is like one of the minor bowls, I would say. It's like one of the smaller bowls, not minor, because everything matters, and we have been hugely benefited from playing inside of the Auto Nation Cure Bowl. But our payout for that was about 500, 570 or something like that.
That's real money.
Still, like now, for those of you that might be thinking, man, that's not a lot of money. Hugh Smith, the coach of Grambling State University, right, who used to be an NFL coach, he makes $400,000. That's probably the high end. Tennessee State's Eddie George, who coaches for Tennessee State and is an ex all NFL pro running back for Tennessee Titans, about 400,000. So that's a lot of money for these programs. That's a lot of money that comes through for winning some of those bowl games. So I think you're right. To get out of the Celebration Bowl, it would be a lot, right? I still think, like, to get more people to want to come to an HBCU from an infrastructural standpoint, you got to make it to the playoff, and you got to knock on the door. You know what I mean?
Look at this.
Deion could have did it. I think Deion could have done it. You know what I mean?
So here's the crazy thing. I just insert random stupid bowl. The Birmingham Bowl will be played this year, December 27th, between East Carolina and Coastal Carolina.
Oh, yeah. That's a Sun Belt game. That's a Sun Belt versus, is it Mountain West or
American versus
Sun Belt, right?
So their payout $1.3 million.
Yeah.
Like that's and see. So for me, it's he didn't have to make it to the playoffs, right? For him to have a lasting impact on what they were doing, right?
Right.
Like and that's the amazing part of the so you talked about everybody's coach's salary. The Nassau Bahamas Bowl between UAB, it's coming on the 16th of December, UAB versus Miami of Ohio, $225,000.
Yeah.
And that, see, to me, like that's what it was about, right? Hey, can you stick around a little bit longer and really change the narrative around, hey, imagine Jackson State playing in the the Lending Tree Bowl
Right.
January 17th and splitting $1.5 million. Right now it's Rice versus Southern Mississippi. Do you think Jackson State could have a better travel and the game will be on ESPN? I think Jackson State will travel better than Rice.
That's crazy.
And now you get to really showcase, like we just had Jackson State on a bowl game, right? Man, maybe we should get Grambling next year at the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Right.
Instead of Marshall versus Connecticut. And so to me, I think that's the missed opportunity is by staying another year or two, you had an opportunity to to actualize real change for Black college football. But again, I also get it, right? Like you can't argue with going from making $500,000 to $5 million a year. So
that's just crazy. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
All right, man. We gotta let that go. We'll see what happens with Deion. I wish him the best of luck. I'm disappointed for Jackson State. My heart goes out to y'all. I hope y'all find another coach that will be as committed to the program as you guys deserve. We'll see how that turns out. But now on the heroes and villains, man. Who's your hero? Who's your villain this week?
Okay, so this may not make so I recently we live near the farmers market, right?
Farmers market, yep.
So we started buying these compressed juices.
Yeah,
from the farmers
they're
market.
pretty good. I've got them before when we used to live down that way.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm drinking fresh cold pressed orange juice with with some ginger added.
Oh, that sounds like all heartburn, bro.
It changes much. It changes how I see juice. Had pineapple juice the other day, and the crazy thing about it is you can just walk up with the fruit.
Right.
Say, I want this as a juice.
Oh yeah. Right.
Right. They got to be my hero this week. So Candace has been buying them.
Right.
Yeah, and my dad's right. Georgians for getting out the vote. Hey, if you ain't voted yet, take your ass to the poll in the morning. Take somebody with you. Send somebody a text message. Go vote.
Right.
Shit, I had to wait in line over here for about 40 minutes.
I waited in line over an hour, and I still got it done.
And the lady was like, yo, like, thank you. It's a black lady. She was like, thank you for, I'm sorry about the line, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, fam, like.
That's what we got to do. What you talking about?
Like, I can't have somebody with 3 brain cells as my senator. So I at least got to do my part. So will I be up tomorrow watching the polls come in? Yes, I will. I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. I don't think I have a villain, man. Like things are good. Herschel, easy thing would be for Herschel Walker to be my villain or Donald Trump's dumbass to be my villain. I don't know. I don't think I have anything. If something comes up while you're going through yours, I'll say it. But I think right now, fire ass juice. Christmas season's here. Hey, love somebody and treat somebody right, man.
My hero this week, I think, is going to carry over to next week. Next week, what I want us to do is rank the top 10 Christmas movies, right?
Can you send me a text to remind me of that? Like,
I will
tomorrow?
remind you. I will remind you. We are going to do a top 10 Christmas movie list battle, and we're going to go movie for movie and go up the list of whose top 10 is the best. So
hold on. Okay, hold on. I think we should do it this way. We should do a Christmas movie draft.
Christmas movie draft.
And so we got so if so boom, 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 go back and forth. And if somebody takes it,
I love it.
You can't say it anymore.
I love it. It's a Christmas movie draft next week.
Hold on. But here's the follow-up. I'd love to do that. Can we do 10? Like that means you got to have a list of about 20 or 30 Christmas movies.
You do.
So it would be 5.
You got to come with it. You got to come with it. You got to go hit for hit and assemble your top 10.
But that means if you take somebody off the board, I can't use that one no more.
You can't. You got to have a backup. You got to be ready to go.
You got to have a deep bench of Christmas movies.
You got to be ready to go.
All
right. And then complete with challenges on, is this a Christmas movie or not? Right.
Oh, see, because that means you're going to go Die Hard in the Christmas movie.
Hey, there's a bunch of pivots that we can come up with here, but this is the right season. We are beyond Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I have not heard the Boys to Men Christmas music, so I'm still feeling good.
Hold on, let me.
Don't do it. Don't even do it. And we still got to get the Temptations in there. And this year, there's lo-fi Christmas music. Have you heard of this? Lo-fi Christmas music. Google it. It's crazy. It's weird. It's weird, and it's also understandable. It's like music that you might hear in a store while you're shopping for Christmas, right? So that's what I would say about that. My villain this week. I have an ultimate villain. I have a bone to pick, right?
Uh-oh.
I have a bone to pick. Yesterday on Georgia State's campus, a student was shot and murdered on campus.
Did I hear about this?
This happened yesterday. People, what are we doing? Right? A student was shot and murdered, and they said was targeted on campus, like literally right across the street from the dorms, right across the street from the police station even. It's like this gun violence stuff's got to stop. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable from a university. It's unacceptable for students. It's unacceptable for everyone. A student that came to school to get an education will no longer be here. That's unacceptable from every lens. There's no excuse for that.
And then you think about the family, right? Like a mother and father got a phone call
right before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what else
kids to college, that. And you know, like that's not a phone call that you think you're gonna get.
That it's unacceptable. I just don't understand. We were talking about it today at work, and I was like, it's unacceptable. Hard stop. Pause. No, nothing. Yeah. Right? It's ridiculous, and I don't understand. Saying that the student was targeted, saying that it happened at the corner, none of this stuff fixes that situation at all. So I don't know. We just got to do better as a society. So
that's I'm all in for you.
So those are my heroes and villains. Next week, holiday draft. Check us out. Get your list together. While we're going through our draft, I want you to throw up the movie that you would have had in our spot. That's going to make this very interesting. I need people.
I feel like we should go 5 and not 10. 10 is
we got to try and go 10. Got to try and go 10. 10 is the aim. 10 is the goal, right? Let's do 5 with comment.
All right.
And then we'll have
if we can get to 10, we'll get to 10.
If we can get to 10, we'll get to 10. All right.
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be, and we're going to have liquor for this. So.
Oh yeah, we'll be drinking next week. Hold on, what's next week? What do we do?
Next week is
the 12th.
The 12th. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're good that week. I think the 19th I'll be out.
Oh, you're out the 19th.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. The 19th.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's all good. Right before the holiday.
Yeah. So but I'll be. I mean, I'm fine the 26th. We can do the post Christmas episode.
Hey, post Christmas episode. I'm down.
All right.
All right. Bet.
Yo, great episode, bro.
Great episode. Great
Hey,
episode.
thank y'all for bearing with your boy while I'm single parenting while Candace is out of town. So
Hey,
Avery is still asleep.
Shout out to Avery for staying asleep, bro.
Hey, another hero, man. Avery is unconscious, man.
Yeah, man. That's what's up. That's what's up.
So, hey, bro. Thanks for a great episode, man.
Yeah, man. No doubt. No doubt.
Hey, I'm Jeff.
I'm Kerry. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out. Merry Christmas.